would the establishment cost you on a personal level? You know, houses being raided, constant court cases, breakdowns in personal relationships. What does it cost you personally?
Well, the costs personally have been immensely high. You know, throughout my political career, I've had 20 years of abuse, oppression, contempt, hostility, and obstruction from the establishment. You know, for all of my political career, and they've always been like that towards me because they're frightened of me. Most of them, let's face it, are thick, ignorant, and insular. And when they're faced with any person who's moderately articulate, and especially someone who's principled too, it's like a real alien and frightening experience to them. So I've always had tremendous hostility from the establishment because of that. The child protection issues, of course, given the nature of it and the gravity of it, sent the Jersey oligarchy into complete lunatic overdrive in their desires to crush me. So they unlawfully stripped me of my office. I've been subject to illegal plots by senior civil servants. As you said, I've had my telephones bugged, my computers bugged. I was subject to an unlawful police raid with no search warrant, held locked up in a small cell for 7.5 hours, prosecuted on ridiculous charges that wouldn't be entertained by any court in the United Kingdom. The stress has driven me and my ex-partner apart. She, understandably, is frightened that the police will again come bursting through the house and storm around, perhaps when she and the children are present, you know, next time. I don't know, frankly, when I'm next going to be arrested. It could be when I step outside of this building. There could be a bang on the door from the police tonight. I think it's like living in a Gestapo or Stasi kind of state. Effectively, the only way I've been able to take the fight forward still and try and do what is correct is by effectively forcing this by-election and giving up my seat. And, you know, I may not get re-elected. But frankly, on the basis of my experiences of the last 20 years, if that does mean the end of my time in politics, in many ways it would be personally a relief.
I'll come on to that in just a second, actually, but the personal, you know, how does it affect you personally, and do you thrive on this stuff? Would you rather do without this sort of personal hardships that you've had to go through, or do you thrive on it? Is this what keeps you going?
Well, I would much rather that things weren't like this. There's no doubt about that, but I've always been a fighter. I've always been strong, and you know, so I don't get frightened and intimidated by the establishment. Indeed, that's one of their. The Jersey establishment is so complacent because they are effectively a single-party state. So you're looking at an environment that's very decadent, that's used to no meaningful scrutiny, no meaningful challenge at all. So occasionally when people come along who don't want to just play along with their game and do want to try and improve things, it's a culture shock to them. They don't know how to handle it, and they often make serious errors of judgment, as they have done in this case. Not just with me, but for example, a completely lunatic act of unlawfully suspending Graham Powell. I mean, it's so crazy. You couldn't make that up. It's so ridiculous. But you see, they just can't deal with people who are principled, and people who are strong, and people who are, frankly, smarter than they are. So they repeatedly make these errors of judgment in respect of me. They think that if they just impress me enough, they will succeed in intimidating me. No, that's not going to work. And they always assume because I'm, you know, working class that I must be thick. You know, it's just class war and snobbery on their part. When, you know, actually, I don't claim to be particularly intelligent, but I do think it's a fair observation that most of the Jersey establishment are pretty dense, actually.
Do you ever ask yourself, is it all worth it? It must. It must take its toll. Does it take its toll? Well, is it worth it?
Obviously, you know, the things I've had to go through for the last 2 years, especially the last kind of, you know, 8 to 12 months, have been, you know, absurd. I mean, it's like something out of Kafka. You know, what was I doing? I was trying to do my job to protect vulnerable children and to stop child protection failures taking place. And yet I've had 3 years of lunatic police state oppression and foulness as a result of trying to do that. So yeah, it does, it is depressing and it does get wearying. Of course it does, but nevertheless one has to do what's right.
So the question is, it still is it worth it? Is it worth all?
Oh, absolutely, it's worth it. One has to do what is right. If people don't do what is right, then one lets all kinds of dreadful things happen. The kind of issues that we have in Jersey, okay, the child protection stuff is the worst, but there are all kinds of other, failures of governments in Jersey, incompetence by our public authorities, lots of other bad things. And the reason all of that stuff happens to the extent that it does, without any meaningful challenge, is because too many people shrug their shoulders and think, oh, I can't be bothered to fight it.